This rapper's a mathlete, an average athlete. My knees are running like track meets, but I'm still the same if you ask me. Just a little bit more richer, can't figure out from a picture. I'm old-fashioned with the pitch hurt, cursed to me from a sister.
Welcome to YK Paintball. As you all know, paintball can be a pretty expensive sport, so I wanted to put out a few videos that can help us as players save some money. One of the other videos that I've made, which you can see in the description below, is a video that goes over some recommendations for gear that are cheaper, that might not be made for paintball but work just as well, so that we can kind of save a few bucks that way. Now what I'll be talking about in this video is how to buy used equipment in a way that's a little bit safer and some tips to make sure we don't get scammed or something like that. And so I'm not going to say that if you follow the tips in this video that you'll 1000% avoid all of the scams in the world. The internet can be a pretty dangerous and scary place. But if you follow these tips, hopefully you'll be able to minimize that risk. Now the first thing about used equipment is that some people are a little bit worried about buying used equipment. You know, what if it doesn't work? What if it's kind of crappy? But what I found is that most of the time, especially if you follow these tips, you'll get a piece of equipment that works just as well as if you bought it new for a significantly lower price. Now in my opinion, the first place that I would go if I'm buying used equipment is I would go to my local pro shop. Now with your local pro shop, you get quite a few advantages when you're buying used equipment. First is that you are actually able to see the product, hold it, make sure it works, and you'll know exactly what you're getting when you're buying it. Second is that you are helping your local pro shop, and supporting your local scene is always a good thing in paintball. You know, there aren't nearly as many of us out there as there used to be, and so the scenes that we've got we want to nurture and take care of. And when you buy used, you are putting your money back into the local scene that is providing players and a place to play to you. So it's kind of like a win-win when you're spending money in your local pro shop. And the third is that because you're buying it from that pro shop, usually there's some sort of like warranty or reassurance that they will work on your equipment. For example, this air tank I bought from my local pro shop, and I ended up having a few problems with it. And what he did is he swapped out the reg completely free of charge and said, here you go. And so I paid $50 for the tank, and when I had a problem with it, he fixed it completely free. And that's something you're not going to be able to get if you buy from someone on the internet. Now another thing about buying from a local pro shop is that sometimes people worry that you're not going to get as good of a deal. However, in my experience, I've been able to get great deals at the local pro shop that are at least competitive with what you can find on the internet. For example, my DSR. I was able to get it just like you would brand new. So it came with the case, came with the barrel, everything that you would expect brand new, for a price that was entirely competitive with what you would find used. And so I'm a success story in two ways. You know, the nice service that comes with buying from your local store, and a testament to the types of prices that you can get with them. In a similar vein to buying from your local field, a good tip that I got from Spirit Gun on the paintball subreddit is to ask your local teammates and other local players if they're selling any used gear and stuff like that. Usually you can get a pretty good deal that way. Now, unfortunately, not everyone can buy from your local store when you're buying used, and so you'd have to resort to the internet. When you're buying off the internet, you're going to run into PayPal. In fact, you should run into PayPal. PayPal is a very secure way of transferring funds to another person. But the thing to remember, the thing that keeps it secure, are those PayPal fees. And so a seller, they might not even be trying to scam you, but they might be trying to save a few bucks, will say that, hey, let's just gift the money and not pay the PayPal fees, and that way we can save a few bucks. However, when you're paying the fees, what you are buying is the protection of PayPal. And so say you buy something and God forbid you've been scammed and they sent you a broken gun, what you can do is, if you've paid those fees, is initiate a dispute and have PayPal kind of refund that money and take care of everything for you. But if you gifted those fees, you won't have access to that dispute resolution, you won't have access to that PayPal protection, and you're basically out of luck. So when you're using PayPal, in my opinion, you should never gift the payment, and you should always pay the PayPal fees. The few dollars that you might spend on the fees are totally worth the protection in the end. Now my next tip when you're buying used online is to try and use a website that has some sort of feedback system. Two examples are eBay and PB Nation. Now what a feedback system is, it is a sort of official, operationalized way for people in transaction, the buyer and the seller, to make a comment, a positive or negative feedback comment about the person that they just interacted with. So what you end up having is that users who have been using the website, buying and selling a whole lot, they have a little number, usually a little number, that tells you kind of what their reputation is. You know, if I've done 23 transactions and they've all been positive, I'll have a positive feedback score of 23. And that's a really good way to get an idea of whether or not the person you are dealing with is trustworthy. You know, if they have a bunch of negative feedback, you know that they are probably not trustworthy, or at the very least really sloppy with their descriptions when they're selling something. Now, what this also means is that I don't think Facebook is a really good place to be buying used equipment. Facebook doesn't have that sort of systematized, operationalized, official feedback system the way that eBay and PB Nation does. The way feedback works on Facebook is that you go into the group, that's the buy, sell, trade group, and then you ask for a legit check on whoever you're trying to buy or sell to. And what a legit check is that you put up the dude's name, and then a bunch of people will just kind of post and comment and be like, yeah, Brandon's a great guy. And to me, that's not nearly as robust of a system of feedback as something like PB Nation or eBay. Now, I'm not saying that scammers don't exist on PB Nation or eBay, but with their feedback systems, it's a lot easier to suss out who is and isn't trustworthy compared to a legit check on Facebook. My last piece of advice is that when you are deciding on who to buy from and you're looking at kind of their ad or their post, look at how many pictures they have, how many videos they have. You know, the more pictures there are, the more likely it is they actually have what they're trying to sell you, and the more you'll be able to see what it is they're trying to sell you. Kind of related to that is that you should never be afraid to ask for more pictures or ask for a video. Especially something expensive like a marker, where it's really important that you can see that it works. Ask for a shooting video. That way you can see that it works well, and in this day and age when everyone has a cell phone, it really isn't a chore to upload a shooting video like that. And in that way, you get that kind of extra layer of assurance that they actually have what they're selling. You can ask to see kind of specific parts of it, and it's just an overall safer experience. Anyone who is worth their salt, who really wants to sell their used equipment, is going to do that stuff in a heartbeat. Hey guys, two things I wanted to mention that I forgot to talk about in my original video. The first is that when you're trading on a site like PB Nation, and maybe you want an extra layer of protection, or the two of you don't have a lot of feedback, something you can do to feel safe is go through a trusted third party. And so this would be someone with like maybe a lot of feedback, or I think even the mods on PB Nation allow this sort of service. And what you'll do is you'll pay the third party maybe 10 to 20 bucks to carry out the service. And instead of directly sending the equipment to each other, both of you will send the equipment to the third party. Usually the third party will check it out, make sure nobody is like trading crappy, broken equipment. And then once the third party decides everything is good, he'll ship the equipment to the person that you guys are trading with. And so this is one way that you guys can have a little bit of added security when you're doing something like trading equipment on a site like PB Nation. The other thing I wanted to mention are sites like TradeMyGun.com. And what these guys do is they actually sell used equipment, and I think these sites are pretty cool. The used equipment you buy off of there will be a little bit more expensive than if you had bought it from some random person on PB Nation or something like that. But with that extra price comes, assurances that it'll work. Usually they have a really nice return policies, whereas if you buy from them within 30 days or something like that, you can return it if you don't like it, or if it's broken or something along those lines. And the prices will be lower than if you had bought the equipment new. So they're kind of an in-between option between buying new from a store and buying used from some person on the internet. Hopefully those tips will help you out in the future, help you stay safe when you're buying used equipment, and help you feel a little bit less anxious when you're trying to save some money buying used equipment. Thanks for watching.